was the last time you thought about DVD-ROM special features on DVD movies? Because I honestly, until a couple of years ago, had kind of forgot about them. And I'm not talking about the special features that you got just playing it in a normal DVD player. I mean, when you insert it into a DVD-ROM on a computer running Windows 98 or XP or whatever, you got a special player and software and wallpapers and screensavers, games, interactive scripts, all kinds of extra things that you only got if you inserted a DVD into a PC. Yeah, I think this is fascinating. You know, ever since I've been getting more into physical media again for movies, which is one of the things I don't really talk about too much here on this channel. It's one of those hobbies that I like to keep to myself for the most part, but it's become super enjoyable for me to collect these again, and I have different formats for different reasons. I love 4K and Blu-ray for the modern, nice film transfers and really good audio and quality features, but at the same time, I also still collect DVDs on occasion, primarily because of the special features. Both the ones that play in a regular DVD player and also DVD-ROM. You know, compared to so many other DVD features that are still talked about, this is one of them that I don't hear talked about very much. So I just want to go into some history and context of the company that was primarily responsible for it, and of course take a look at a bunch of these running on a computer from back in the day. So let's just get right into it. All right, so first up is identifying these things, and whenever I'm out thrifting looking through DVDs, one thing I keep an eye out for is any mention of DVD-ROM features on the back of the case, and or logos for DVD video/ROM, PC-friendly, or interactual player, which indicate the inclusion of that kind of Windows software from the company Interactual Technologies. And they were by far the biggest driver of DVD-ROM extras from the start, being founded before the format was even finalized. And back in 1995, Todd Collart, formerly of NEC, and Berklee College of Music grad Chris Brown founded Interactual in San Jose, California, with investment from companies like Macrovision, Panasonic, and Warner Brothers. The idea was to make full use of the upcoming DVD format's huge storage capacity and, quote, make a DVD more collectible by licensing their patented software suite on a per-movie basis, with the main program end users saw being PC-friendly, an enhanced DVD playback program for Windows that included multimedia extras and online connectivity, and was rebranded as Interactual Player for its 2.0 release in 2000. And by that year, according to Forbes, 90% of major studios were using Interactual software on their discs, with the main goal being to provide high-quality multimedia without the need for costly high-speed internet. Or as Interactual's Chris Brown said, you don't have to worry about download speeds to get a broadband kind of experience. Our goal is to be the de facto standard for creating web-enabled DVDs. And indeed they were, especially once the press got wind of what was possible. At first there was the Ronin event in March of 1999, which was the first ever DVD online event, where the movie's director hosted a live chat for owners of the physical Ronin DVD through the PC-friendly program. This allowed him to remotely trigger each viewer's DVD to show specific scenes and outtakes as he was talking about them online. But this was soon overshadowed by the Matrix event in November 1999, where over 200,000 owners of the Matrix DVD watched the movie simultaneously while chatting live with the film's directors. Quoting Mr. Brown again, "You put the DVD in your computer and it linked to the website invisibly. The video is in one corner of the screen along with the chat discussion. You all watch the movie at the same time, integrated with the producers of the film. It's synced at the server and everybody's watching the same thing at the same time. The audience is all connected." Of course, none of that stuff is available to experience anymore, but there's still plenty to look at on the DVDs in just this pile of them alone. So yeah, let's just go through a bunch of these and see the kind of PC exclusive goodies you got. And we'll start with American Pie, which, as far as DVD-ROM extras go, it provides a decent offering, despite how indecent the movie may be. As with all these, it starts off asking you to install the software, in this case Interactual Player 2.0, and this works in conjunction with your computer's existing DVD playback capabilities, because contrary to appearances, the Interactual Player cannot play DVDs on its own. It'll only play the actual movies if your OS has the proper codecs already installed, which back then they were frequently included with programs like WinDVD and PowerDVD, often bundled with your DVD-ROM drive or your pre-built PC. But yeah, Opening Interactual defaults to the PC stuff, not the actual movie menus. And these are usually built using HTML and require some version of Internet Explorer and/or Macromedia Flash installed. So yep, for the most part, these DVD-ROM features function like locally cached offline websites. And with American Pie here, you get what is effectively a fan site right on the disc, and detailed plot summaries, actor and filmmaker interviews, and on-set photographs. And a really cool feature called Script to Film, something you see in various forms under different names on a lot of these DVD-ROMs. It's a copy of the film script you can read and compare to the final cut of the movie, referencing the original words on the page with the end results on the DVD as that plays off to one side.
Morning, gentlemen.
Finch, where were you last night, huh? What happened to that foolproof plan of yours?
Yeah, all this film buff kind of stuff, it's exactly the kind of thing I've always found fascinating back then and today. This feature is such a cool way to do it. And if reading is not your thing, there's always farts. Yes, Rock the Potty is included here too, a side-scroller platforming flatulent flash game where you play the character Finch during the scene where his mochaccino is spiked with laxatives by Stifler, and the kid has to run through the school hallway to the nearest toilet and take a giant dump before soiling himself. Flash games, it's a lost art form, or at least a fart form. Speaking of crappy Flash games, the Bourne Identity here doesn't offer much more than that, unfortunately. About the only thing you get on this disc are 5 minigames, each of which loosely tie into the movie's themes of Jason being an amnesiac, super observant spy guy that does a lot of cardio. So you get the world's worst Pac-Man clone with what appears to be only a single level and absolutely brain-dead enemies. This game, where you have 10 seconds to memorize the objects in a scene, and that wasn't 10 seconds. It runs entirely too fast for some processing-related reason, I'm sure. Same with this other memorization game, where you're supposed to remember which person has which weapon, but it goes by in an instant, so you don't have a chance. Even this tile matching game seems to be running too fast, so something's clearly off with the game speed being tied to CPU performance, and this XP system is entirely too fast. Or maybe it's a dual core thing, I don't know. It's not like any of these are worth playing regardless. Thankfully, Gold Member here offers a bit more. There aren't any Austin Powers games or anything, but it does pack extra goodies accessible from this Flash menu. Kind of wild how this is a flashback to both the 60s and now to the 2000s, but anyway, the main thing on offer here is a whole bunch of wallpapers for your PC's desktop, organized by theme and in several of the most popular screen resolutions of the time, the kind of stuff you'd see on a movie's official website back then, but right on disc, no AOL trial required. On that note, there's also a minime.com website, quote-unquote, and it's odd. I mean, I guess it fits the theme. It's a tiny amount of content that plays back in a small window. Really the main attraction on the disc is this Revoice Studio application, which for some reason won't open from the menu, but the program can still be opened by browsing through the folders and running it from there. And yeah, this is an early version of Synchro Arts Revoice, which is still around today, by the way, although presumably it's a lot more full-featured than this. The whole idea is that you use a microphone to re-record scenes from the movie in your own voice, click each line, record your own take, then play it back mixed in with other bits from the movie, all sped up and adjusted automatically. Yeah, I guess it's interesting as an attempt at ADR at home, but the results are just kind of bad.
What's happening, baby?
And what an exciting program this is. Evil has escaped. Yeah, I guess this really is all there is to it. Yes.
All right, next up, we've got this 25th anniversary edition of Jaws. This is an interesting one. On the back, it doesn't mention interactual or DVD-ROM features, but it does mention having a screensaver, so I thought that was worth a look. And sure enough, right there in the root directory is a tiny 5 megabyte executable, which opens up this amusingly simple program, and a whopping 5 film scans. You can look at them individually here, set them as your Windows wallpaper, and yes, set them as a screensaver slideshow. And that's it. That's all you get. Genuinely one of the most underwhelming extras I have come across, really making full use of that cutting-edge DVD-ROM format. Now, by contrast, The Matrix is one of the single best examples of PC DVD extras, as you might expect, and it's one of those that uses the original PC-friendly program, a fully separate installation from those interactual players that we've been using so far.
You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Yeah, this is just awesome. They did not skimp out on the theming at all, or the extra content. There's so much stuff here. A few things required an online connection, like the aforementioned Matrix watch-along event, but there's still a lot on this disc, like a collection of press coverage about the movie and write-ups on some of its themes and ideas, as well as a fantastic script-to-screen section with the screenplay, also now accompanied by storyboards, letting you compare the writing, the illustrations, and the stills from the movie all alongside each other, as well as being able to jump directly to those chapters in the movie on the DVD and watch along as you scroll around. It's excellent. Some of the rest of this stuff is just straightforward fluff and marketing, of course, like this page of shortcuts to some of the movie's more standout fight scenes, and this Matrix code page, which shows a nifty but entirely too short loop of the iconic green characters. And then there's this page of nothing but movie trailers, but let's be real, this kind of thing was very much welcomed back in the day, because downloading these trailers through dial-up in any kind of decent quality, that took ages, so this was sweet. And to really put a point on the whole bandwidth-saving idea here, it even has the entire Matrix website archived right on the disc as it originally was in June of 1999. Hell yeah! Internet Archive has its place, of course, but having a whole 90s website written to official physical media, this is the good stuff. And one of the things archived on this site is the Matrix screensaver, which for some reason isn't working properly here, nor is this the one game. So I figured that PC speed or OS or something is causing issues again. So I tried it on this new 3D printed Windows 98 rig I got recently. Let me know if you're interested in seeing more of this, but yeah, works great. I was always looking for Matrix screensavers like this back in the day, and I think I actually had this one at some point too. It was a free download from the website after all. And as for the one minigame, it's fine. It was just a bunch of trivia. Just watch scenes from the movie or try to answer them from memory by finding the little hidden telephones in the background and then answering that way, and hey, look, turns out I'm the one. Who knew? Anyway, 413 megabytes of stuff is accessible on this disc only on a computer. It's awesome. One of the best DVD feature sets for one of the best movies ever made. And then you have discs like Casablanca here, and this is an intriguingly underwhelming one. It does start up the interactual player, and it seems like it would have some things, but really it's just a lazy pile of hyperlinks at the bottom, all 5 of them linking to various Warner Brothers websites, nothing accessible offline from the disc. All this movie's regular DVD features are great, just not the PC side. But oh well, we'll always have Paris. Speaking of which, Ronin. As mentioned earlier, this boasted the first online DVD event, accessible by running this disc on a PC. Now, the back doesn't say anything about specific DVD-ROM features though, and unless you pay extra close attention, it's easy to miss that tiny PC-friendly logo towards the bottom. And yeah, you start it up and you do get the PC-friendly application, but there's nothing here except some links, really. Again, a bunch of stuff going to websites that are not archived on the disc or anything. It was just expecting you to go online. Really, the most exciting thing about this was the fact you could do that historical first watch-along thing online, but of course, you had to have been there almost 30 years ago, so too late. Thankfully, though, the rest of the discs I want to show, they're all pretty sweet. So let's just start with The Mummy Ultimate Edition. Another earlier PC-friendly release, and yeah, this is good stuff here. Look at these options. It really is the earliest releases, at least consistently, having the most effort put into them. Companies slowly making a tech product a little bit worse over time with every new release. I mean, what an absurd concept. I'm glad that doesn't happen anymore. But anyway, here we go with this familiar set of features, but it's always awesome, seeing this kind of thing that is laid out like an old website with all the behind the scenes and cast and character and story and filmmaking information. Now, unfortunately, the script to screen section doesn't work, or at least it does to a point, and then it just crashes the PC-friendly program, so that sucks. Also, there is a little mini-game here that would probably work just fine if I had the right plugin, but for some reason they didn't include it. It requires Shockwave, and that is not on the disc. Flash is, Internet Explorer and everything else you need is, but just not Shockwave. Yes, I can go find an old version and download, but reading the description of the minigame doesn't sound worth it, to be honest. Oh well, there's still a cool customize your desktop section with a couple of different screensavers here. Again, they're pretty much just slideshows, but yeah, it's fine. I'm not going to say no to an excuse to look at more 90s Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz. Same goes for the wallpaper section with a couple of different resolutions per background. Heck yeah. And you also get a selection of icons. Just in case you want to redo your icons, here you go. I mean, this was very much a thing that I did back in the day, so hey, cool. It's just amusing that it has its own little program exclusively for this. And there is one more game on here, or rather a demo for one, and that is Rebellion's The Mummy PC game. I forgot this existed. I've never played it. Now that I have a little, I'm not surprised I've never really heard anyone talk about it, because this is bad. Oh boy, everyone wanted to be Tomb Raider back then, and this doesn't do it. Oh well, it's cool that it's on here, right? Right? Yeah. Here come the Men in Black. Yeah, I had a feeling this would have some worthwhile stuff on it, and it does. Yeah, the deluxe edition here goes with that late 90s website style interface again, and it's great. Yeah, just more of that fan site vibe for fans of the movie. Section going over the different aliens and their case files and photos and trivia. You got the MIB Agent Training and Examination Center with a page going over the different weapons and non-lethal devices. Really just photos and write-ups of the props used in the movie. There's also the MIB game, which is really just your typical shooting gallery flash game. It's fine. It's just there's something about the way that the mouse is handled here that it feels highly off, dissatisfying, sluggish, and weird. I don't know why. There's also supposed to be a 3D exploration of the Men in Black headquarters, but it is another thing that requires a plugin that doesn't come on the disc, a QuickTime VR in this case. Dang it, why didn't they just include the things it needs on the DVD? They had space, they included other things, just not everything. And finally, it does have a couple of screensavers, and they work, they're just a bit bland. One shows a bunch of text going over the requirements to join the Men in Black, and the other shows the same photos and text of the props that we saw earlier. And that's what that is. Right, moving on to Office Space, and I was quite curious to see what this is, because, just the themes of the movie, right? There's no interactual player, but it goes right into a Flash player, and you get that iconically awful printer with the PC load letter and paper jam error, and yeah, you click on a few different things here. So we have some audio. Yeah, this is a little different. It's just a selection of sound bites, recordings of dialogue from the movie.
PC load letter? What the f*** does that mean?
I need to watch this movie again. It's been a while. You also get a selection of downloads with your more or less expected stuff, your wallpapers, more icons. In this case, they're IM icons, little animated ones just in the right size for including on AOL Instant Messenger profiles. And it does have a minigame. I was expecting at least one or two. Really, I was hoping for something where you could smash the printer, but nope, you get this Road Rage rally game, and yeah, it's fine, based on the opening sequence. You're just trying to beat Bill Lumbergh into the office and steal his parking space, weaving through the traffic that gets slower every time you change lanes. Yeah, it's very much on point. And lastly, you get a couple of screensavers, and I don't know why they don't work. They're just blank white screens on Windows XP. So I went over to that little 3D printed Win98 rig again, and they work, of course. I really didn't expect to see so many of these being broken, depending on the machine and OS it's running on, but so it goes. And then one more DVD I wanted to look at real quick because it's one of my favorites, and I figured a Rocky Horror Picture Show had to have some interesting things on there, and yes, it does. And this is another one that didn't quite work correctly for me. It's an earlier PC-friendly application, but it does open just fine in Internet Explorer, so that's what I'm doing. And yeah, theming and flash animations very much on point, with interactive extras including a Rocky Horror timeline going over the live show and the release of the movie and such. Some pages going over audience participation, especially for first-time virgins, a jukebox letting you listen to clips of songs from the movie, which sadly did not work. Some kind of video object is not supported. There is, of course, the expected screensaver, which isn't that great, unfortunately. I was hoping for a bit more. It's quotes from the movie, a little bit of animation of lightning over the house, and that's all you get there. You also get Riff Raff's Story Lab, and it's Mad Libs. That's all it is. It doesn't narrate it or anything. And lastly is the Masochistic Trivia Challenge. And yeah, it's simply trivia of scenes and events and things from the movie. It's kind of fun, but it's not going to have anybody shivering with anticipation. But yeah, while I could easily go on showing more, I think you get the gist. There were hundreds of DVD movies with these DVD-ROM extras, and while the presentation and quality varied quite a bit from disc to disc, the actual content was usually some variation of what we've seen here. Really, the best examples are from 1998 to 2002 or so, and it kind of makes sense as the feature fizzled out after that. For one, Interactual was acquired by Sonic Solutions in 2004, who had plans to incorporate their technology into its own line of products, namely their Roxio disc authoring software. By the mid-2000s, broadband was taking off, and having web content on a disc didn't hold quite the same appeal anymore when you could just go to the official website. And with new HD disc formats arriving in 2006, the big studios simply moved on. However, for the few short years it made sense, DVD-ROM extras were pretty sweet, and it's worth keeping an eye out for them. There's also a handy list of them linked in the video description, though it's not comprehensive, so it's still worth looking out for the Interactual and PC-friendly logos on each case. I don't know, there's just something cool about it being restricted to the DVD format. I've never seen any Blu-rays that had computer software on the disc. Now, audio CDs, those certainly did, but that's an entirely different topic for another time, perhaps. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this LGR retrospective, and let me know in the comments if you ever messed with this software back then. And if you did, what were your favorite DVD-ROM extras? Because there are a ton of discs I haven't tried yet. And of course, thank you very much for watching.